Welcome to the show. Today we have our recap on 2024. We've got Josh joining us fresh off some wins for Texas. He's very excited. Andrew got fresh off a free chicken sandwich.
Free chicken sandwich. I got a free chicken sandwich at Chick-fil-A today. It was like a very, very happy day. It was a birthday chicken sandwich too, by the way.
I immediately got us off track. I'm going to work on keeping us on track as we go through this. But as we look at our end of the year, so end of 2024, we always go through kind of the same process in our partnership of what we're doing. It's really 4 steps. We do our partner review of saying, how did things go for the year? What did we spend our time on? We look at the trends that we saw for the year and saying, hey, what did we see? What do we think is going to happen for the next year? We also look at like, what are we doing together? There's got to be some fun out there. So what are we doing together? And then the last part is our property assessments, where we sit down, we look at every deal, how it performed for 2024 or whatever year it is. And then we set our goals and objectives for 2025, the next year. So we're going to kick things off for this review cycle here, going through just what went really well for 2024 or some things that were like, maybe didn't go so well. So highlights from the year. Josh, why don't you kick us off? What are highlights for 2024?
So going into 2024, we had built a sizable portfolio of commercial properties, industrial and office buildings, and we were starting to see really the impact that leasing and renewals had on the properties. So we decided to stand up our own internal leasing team to focus on renewals. So we're still working with a lot of brokers on leasing vacant space, but for the renewals, we figured that we were in a better position than outside brokers because we're maintaining the property all year long as the property managers, as the maintenance staff, et cetera, that we're in the best position to work towards that renewal every day versus the brokers that really pop in and pop out when the lease expires. So we set up a leasing team. We have 3 full-time people working on it, and their sole job is to focus on renewals.
That's been great for this year.
Yeah, you have a name for it too, I believe. It's called Hugs.
It's Donuts and Hugs.
Donuts and Hugs.
We've had to make some adjustments to the donuts part. There was, especially New Year's resolutions.
The demand for donuts is down.
Yes.
The demand for donuts is down. With some people, not everybody.
Not everybody.
Okay,
but
in general.
Yeah, in general.
When we go to a tenant's door and we want to talk to them and just say hi, and we provide donuts half the time or greater than 50% of the time, they're saying no thank you to the donuts. So
were you getting in trouble for the hugs at all, or are you not?
No, the hugs were invited.
The hugs were good.
Yeah, the hugs were always
all right.
welcome.
Glad to hear.
Yeah,
glad to hear.
Yeah.
Okay,
it was sugar content.
Other highlight for the year was we really stood this up this year, and we deployed private capital kind of as a debt mechanism through 8 different deals this year. That was something we had not done in previous years, and we had always thought about and worked on it. And this year we did 8 deals that were around private debt. So that was a big win. We're excited about that one. Another part that was positive, looking at some of our notes here, was the Hub acquisition that we did. We purchased a property here in Atlanta, industrial flex deal. We got it for like $65 a square foot, a little less than that. So excellent deal for us. We're very excited about the price point in a great area. Working on the CapEx part of that now. Part of us, though, is like, maybe we got it too good, and now we're hesitant on other stuff that is always priced above that.
Right. Well, also, how much does it cost to rebuild that place right now? If you're buying it for $65 a square foot, it's a lot.
It's not even possible.
Yeah.
Buying a property, tearing it down and rebuilding and getting all the zoning changes and everything you need to do that is just not really permissible in most municipalities.
Right.
Like especially Milton. Milton makes it very clear they are not allowing redevelopment.
Right. And so the reason this is so amazing is because $65 a square foot is absolutely unreproducible if you were to just try to do it from ground up construction. Yeah. So it's always going to be an existing asset, and it's probably one of the best priced assets you've purchased over the last year. Is that true?
Yeah. Or maybe past 4 or 5 years.
Past 4 or 5 years, yeah. So it was an amazing purchase. So good job.
Yeah.
Another really positive part, we've been exiting apartments for a while, but we only sold 1 apartment deal this year. Volume was overall fairly low, both buys and sells. But we sold an apartment deal this year. We held it for 7 years, had a 27% IRR, so our average return each year is 27%, just over a 5x equity multiple. So it's a big home run. For us, we're very excited about that exit, about that win. And just like always, we did 1031, rolled it into some new acquisition. So that was exciting.
And 2 of the most, actually, I think this is officially the 2 most exciting purchases I've had during my time here is that we bought the Vortex Real Estate in Midtown in Little Five Points. And the Vortex, for those of you who are in Atlanta, it is pretty much an institutional brand. that if you were in your 20s and lived in Atlanta, you were there drinking and eating hamburgers. And so the brand has been around for 20 plus years. They sold to a private equity company. Private equity company and Greenleaf partnered together. They bought the operations, we bought the real estate, and it was two of the coolest purchases we've made over the past many years of retail real estate. And Dave and I had our burger challenge where they have a gigantic.
I came in second place.
They have a gigantic burger you can buy. If you look it up on the internet, there's the gigantic one, which we did not do. We only did like the baby gigantic one.
I was the judge of this, meaning that I sat there and judged them, watching them consume too many calories and fat.
Yes, and you ate your grilled,
Not
just made
judging
fun of
who
them.
won, just judging us as people,
Correct.
right?
as
Yes.
you ate your grilled chicken sandwich, just to be
Exactly.
clear. And
Yep.
Dave and I tried to be. We had our quad. It wasn't a quadruple bypass, but whatever it was a double or a triple
Yeah, but it's hamburgers wrapped in
Grilled cheese and
grilled
bacon.
cheese.
sandwiches?
It was a grilled cheese sandwich bun, and I think
with tater tots.
I remember it being
Yeah.
like 4,000 calories or 3,000 calories.
It was a lot. I don't know. I didn't finish it. It was only like 2,500 calories for me.
I judged every bite.
Yeah.
I just shook my head.
Dave did pound the Diet Cokes pretty well, though. I do remember that.
I'm like Farva. I can drink 10 of those, no problem.
So those were two fun purchases. And Greenleaf also hit another milestone this year. Well, not another milestone, but I mean, we're up to like over 130 properties purchased by now.
Yeah,
This is
it closed over
that's
130
amazing.
deals now. So
15, 20 years ago, did you ever imagine you'd be saying that? You'd bought 130 properties?
we number all of our deals, which there was a purpose for that when we started, and we used 3 digits. So our first deal was like 001. The whole goal was like, maybe we can get to 100. Maybe we get to 100, and it'd be really cool.
When we get to 999 and we break the number system, I mean, it's going to be just like Y2K.
Well, that's why we picked 3 digits, because we didn't want to have Y2K. We didn't think about what if we had 1,000 deals.
Oh my God. So if you get to 999 properties, you broke Greenleaf.
Yeah, and then
Exactly.
and then I think it just starts back over from 0.
Because you don't have the originals.
What if you still have
Yeah.
like one of like 45 or something?
We'll see what happens when we get
All
there.
right. Well, it's a good problem to have.
It's-
All right, Josh,
Congratulations.
leasing highlights.
76 new leases signed, over 280,000 square feet. Pretty awesome. The average square footage was about 3,700 square feet. Leasing velocity, leasing demand for our we call it low rise, one to 2 story buildings in suburban Atlanta has been incredible. And especially in the smaller space, really where leasing has been slower is we have a couple, the Pleasantdale property we talked about this morning. It's a great flex, purpose built property in an industrial corridor, really busy area. But the suites we have are 15 to 20,000 square feet, and they've just been slower to lease. And when we go to sign a lease with this property, it's about a 6-month LOI negotiation, and we had 2 6-month LOI negotiations blow up on us. So we lost a year due to that. But there's been lots of demand for it. So we're excited looking forward into next year. We have about 400,000 square feet of space coming up that we can lease. And, based on this past year, I think we can double down on that.
Yeah, cool. Okay, if we think about 2024, the steps in our year-end review, we go back and look at what were we focused spending time on and what are we going to be focused spending time on in 2025. So, Josh, your focus from 2024.
Yeah. So primary focus for 2024 was really standing up the leasing team and getting the momentum and velocity and putting a concerted effort around our renewals. And then looking forward in 2025, it's really deal flow and opportunities that we can package up investment product around real estate, like we did with our debt product. We did, 3 or 4 different types of debt, whether it was first lien, second lien, developments in Texas. We bought some land really throughout the whole country with our first deal. And just looking for new products that we can put together, and also, doubling down on what we already have going on, which is buying more single-story office, looking at more apartment deals, et cetera.
Cool. How about you, Andrew?
Well, 2024, we actually finally finished up implementing Agora, which everybody who's watching this, who has touched Greenleaf before, you know what Agora is by now. And it's an investor management platform that's going to do a little bit better job than our previous one. It's going to be more geared to companies our size. Juniper was getting a little bit, I don't know, what would you say?
It
It was
was
just
really
more institutional.
It was more institutional than accommodating us. And so
it was more fund focus and less individual deal focus. And our primary purpose of business is to design it in an individual deal way, not a fund.
And our goal was this software is going to make our life easier. So it's going to make our admin easier. It's going to make our investor payments easier. And it's going to streamline the actual operations of the company too. So we finished implementing that. wasn't perfect, but we're still working through some issues, and we're finishing that up. We finished it up for 2024, and they're actually implementing new features for 2025, including some great reporting and AI tools and so on and so forth. And then the other big accomplishment for 2024, I managed to finish. This is a 2-year project, but I finished getting my brokerage license in 5 states. So Greenleaf will be a licensed brokerage company in 5 different states. And I think the better we do keeping our brokerage activities in-house rather than having to pay third parties, we're going to do a lot better. So it's going to be good for investors because in theory, we'll be saving investors money in the future on doing our deals internally rather than externally.
Yeah, we look at that on 2 fronts, really. I mean, there's the cost part, but there's also the time part.
Yes.
The faster we can do deals, just the better the returns are going to be, right? So focused a lot on speed and what makes things just as efficient as we possibly can. I'll say for me, 2024, I started out really, and as we discussed our plans for the year, I was heavily focused on what are we going to do on the CapEx front and how we're going to execute a lot of projects as those kind of were wrapping up. In 2025, we went to the All In Summit, wrapping up in 24. We went to All In Summit, learned a lot about just different technology stuff, and really spent the second half of the year geared around what software we can use from an AI platform to really speed up how our business is done. And going into 2025, it's what the heck does that actually mean? How is it useful? Going into 2025, we're working on putting together essentially all of our historical financial data and all of our investor write-ups and all of the presentations we've made around a deal. So from start to finish, and then being able to put together an AI interface that can go review all that information, see how we did, and kind of pull out nuggets of all the decisions that were made along the way. So as we go and underwrite future deals, we can reference all of our old deals easily to know what variables we have to put in. So if we want to go back and be like, hey, what was our time to lease stuff up? We know exactly what that is, and it tracks it. Because one of the issues we have is that when we do sell a deal, that deal leaves our information system. It leaves our property management portal. It leaves our accounting portal. So that knowledge that's stored kind of as data is then, it's not lost, but it's not in our system anymore to reference it easily. This will fix that kind of knowledge transfer situation there. So that's one of my main pushes for 2025.
And we also have small little successes around AI too, that we actually built a little AI prompt that will take a 100-page lease and summarize that 100-page lease in about 5 pages. And usually we would pay an attorney a couple $1,000s to do that. Yeah. Now we can do it in 5 minutes with an AI tool. So we have successes like that using AI within Greenleaf too.
Yeah, we're also using some other AI platforms so we can work on our relationship management tools. It's not necessarily purely custom. It's not necessarily a CRM, but it's more just a relationship management platform where we're able to keep track of potential tenants that we've spoken to, vendor communications that we've had, investor communications we've had, and how can we use that to just better track what those interactions are. An old style CRM, you got to enter all these individual data points, and it kind of gets exhausting. And really, you kind of don't really want to do it. With an AI powered one, you can just type in any kind of notes in a paragraph form, where you don't have to delineate anything. And AI can just reference that every time, notes from your meeting, and tell you kind of what's been happening with that contact over the years.
Yeah, it also can scrape the internet for additional information
about that person.
So, it's, interacting with the LLM through, using your AI platform, you can have a conversation and say, hey, when did I meet with Dave last? And I'll be like, oh, you had lunch with Dave yesterday. It's like, has Dave been to any conferences lately? Actually, Dave spoke at a conference, earlier this year, and it'd give me the dates of that. And that would come from the internet, not necessarily from the data input that I put in. So we're getting way, probably 20% of the information we are getting is manually inputted by us. 80% is coming from the internet.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So I think that's going to drive a lot. There's going to be a lot of use of that coming out in 2025, and companies really trying to adapt to it and see how they can use agents in these platforms to really improve their business. So it's kind of focus for 2025 on that. All right, let's go through what we didn't see happen. So even when we're talking about what our predictions are, what we think is going to happen and where we spend our time, we also go back and say hey, we thought this was going to happen, and this stuff never really played out. So one of the big things we were talking about, call it ending 2023, going into 2024, where we were very bullish about, was that we were going to see some distressed opportunities, and they were going to be more prevalent. It really just didn't materialize. There's talk of, okay, there's some cheap office buildings that sold in San Francisco, but Atlanta market, the Southeast, we did not really see distressed opportunities that could be taken advantage of at any scale. Maybe one-off ones here and there, but no great bulk purchasing opportunity happened. We thought it was going to, it didn't. So.
Yeah, I mean, even the hub, the hub was somewhat of a distressed sale, but not really. I mean, technically, it was just the seller choosing to sell it on their own terms. They had other buyers that would have paid more, were the ones that got it done, but it wasn't a bank sale. They didn't have a gun to their head.
They weren't forced to do anything.
They were just tired of the asset and wanted to move on because it's been sitting vacant for so long. So, I mean, even our best purchase that we've done in years wasn't really a truly distressed deal.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, my guess is banks would rather still work out something rather than take the deal back because, again, banks are not in the property management business, and it's the same thing from 2008. All of a sudden, all of these banks had to actually create a REO division, which they've never had before in their entire existence, and all of a sudden they have a whole dedicated team of these larger banks had hundreds of people working for these REO divisions that absolutely, I don't think they want to do that again.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So that never really happened. So how about you, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, really, with all we've talked about with rising taxes and insurance and operational costs around apartments specifically, I really thought we'd see more apartments come back and more apartments be liquidated. And last year was one of the, I would say, lowest transaction years on record, especially in the last decade. And really, apartments were really stagnant and didn't really do much. Rents were flat to down in most areas, and operational costs were up, double digits. But the market continued to kind of hold, and rescue capital was raised. Some other bailout funds came in, but it wasn't the blood on the street that you were kind of expecting to see with rising interest rates and rising operational costs. All the headwinds that would kind of a perfect storm to take down an industry didn't happen.
Yeah. Andrew, what do you think on the retail side?
Well, I was always looking. When interest rates go up, in theory, cap rates should go up too. They didn't as much as we expected them to, and so the retail opportunities were not there. Towards the end of the year, we did find some really high cap rate Dollar Generals, but just like both of you, I expected retail deals were going to be selling at super high cap rates, but they were very few and far between of all. It
didn't happen.
It just didn't. Yeah, I mean, in limited pockets, but limited pockets don't let you have a plethora of deals to buy, and so we had a handful of 8-cap Dollar Generals, and those were great, but that was probably about it for 2024 and our buying opportunities.
Yeah. All right. Other part we always go through at the end of the year is the things that didn't go so great. It's kind of necessary. It's not always the fun part, but you got to go through and see, hey, what didn't exactly work as planned? And these are things where we were doing stuff that didn't work, not just ideas that didn't happen. So one thing we had that didn't go so well this year, we had a single tenant user. We have a property up in North Carolina that was 27,000 square feet. It's one tenant, and we offer them a pretty significant amount of money, over $50 a square foot, to stay in that space, and they decided to leave. So that tenant, we bought that deal with a shorter lease, knowing that was a potential risk. We thought we had underwritten everything and would be able to get them to stay. That did not happen. So now we're like, we got a vacant 2-story office building. We've already leased 25% of it, so that's positive, but it was something we didn't expect to happen. And now we're working through, what does it look like? We did plan. We do have some reserves to be able to work through it. Obviously, it wasn't ideal. So we're handling that right now.
It was an interesting, from the time that we bought that deal to the time that they decided not to renew, their, I would say, facilities manager changed over. And so when we were going in, we interviewed them, we had the discussion. They loved the building, they loved the location, they love where they're at. So 2 years later, there's a different person in charge, and that person's role now is to consolidate space, to downsize. Just a lot of things changed while we held the building, and it just, it was not evident on the front end. So we're working through that one now.
Yeah. So other knockgate stuff, I'm jumping. I'll do 2 in a row here, but just taxes, insurance, just like you mentioned, it's taking us a lot of time and energy to manage the insurance and tax components of the business, where we have insurance requirements from lenders are always stagnant. You get a 10-year loan, it came with specific insurance requirements. And as the insurance markets go up and down, it causes a little bit of issue of like, can you get all the requirements at a reasonable price? We're not even trying to get like the greatest price, just at a reasonable price to cover the insurance covenant. So working through that stuff is not necessarily one of the most exciting parts of the business. But if you're not doing it, it could cause some real problems. So that's one we're putting a lot of time and energy into that and really making sure that we have all our bases covered there.
The yo-yo impact that we talked about this morning on one of the apartment properties that, it was assessed, it was in 2023, it was assessed, give or take $2 million. It got reassessed in 2024 to $6 million. Then we fought it and got it reassessed back to $2.9 million. That the amount of work and labor that went into that, and then we had to pay consultants over $25,000 to fix that for us and fight it for us. It's just an exhausting amount of work to just maintain and mitigate our risk there. Yeah.
So the ongoing battle of doing that stuff, but it's just part of operating real estate. So, all right, Josh, what do you think? Other stuff? We just say like, what was something that was not great? Right. But it's like, look, we got to do it anyway. So
yeah. So when we're working with leasing brokers on vacant space, we agree on general terms, meaning like what do we think the market is for leasing, what kind of standard TI package, what kind of leasing commissions, et cetera, should be deemed worthy of the space. And what ends up happening is there's a lot of slippage in, call it all those categories. And what ends up slipping is, a lot of times the brokers are incentivized to get us the highest rate, but they don't have the impact of the cost. So they'll go out there and negotiate a really high rate, but also a higher TI package. So we not only get hit, we get the benefit of a higher rate, which is valuable, but we get hit with a higher TI package and higher leasing commissions that we budgeted for. So say we were planning to get $20 a square foot, but they got us $25, but we were planning on spending $5 a square foot in TI, but we have to spend now $50. And we don't have the 50. It's great they got us more money, but we just don't have. So it's a constant balancing act on the TI versus lease rate that we have to, I would say battle and negotiate with the leasing broker, with the market to really get the right tenant in the space. So it's very challenging.
Andrew, how about you?
Well, deal stagnation, of course, was the big theme for 2024. I think we normally buy about 10 to 20 properties a year. And for this year, it was only five pieces of real estate. We did some debt, so that was good. So we did like seven pieces of debt this year, which was a success. Something new, something people are very interested in. It's been very, there's been a lot of interest in our debt deals. Yep. So, Greenleaf was I call it a low volume year. And I mean, Greenleaf is constantly buying property, and it's just the way it works. And this is the first year that I've been here, possibly in probably a decade, that the volume was what it was. So it was a very different year as far as deal volume too for us. Yeah.
All right, other not quite great stuff. Josh, you got a new ACL. So I don't know if that counts as not great or is great.
Yeah, new ACL this year, skiing incident.
Is it from a pig or what is it from?
The cadaver.
A cadaver.
Yeah. Okay. It's interesting too. They give you a placard after the cadaver ACL is put in. They ask if you want to thank the family.
That's wow.
Of the donor ACL.
Wow.
So actually, it basically is temporary. It forms a bridge so you can grow your own ACL back. Right. It takes about 12 months. So I'm right at kind of the 12-month mark in the next 30 days. So I'm pretty excited about my recovery. But got a new ACL. Everything, living here in Atlanta, it's been a challenging year. Texas has an incredible.
Here he goes.
Incredible football season.
Oh boy.
We're on track to go to the national championship. We just got to blow through Ohio State next weekend. Not a big deal. But I mean, Quinn Ewers played for Ohio State and chose to come to Texas to lead our team to this victory. So I'm excited about that. But in terms of not great stuff, I have to live here in Atlanta after a season that our only losses were to Georgia twice.
Thank you.
It wasn't once.
Thank you for that commentary, Josh. We appreciate it very much. Thank you.
It's just been, so.
Dave, what else would you like to talk about?
So, but on that note, one of the really positive things though is that Atlanta got the national championship last year. The national championship was in Houston. It brought in over $200 million of revenue to the city. So Atlanta got it this year. So we should have a really phenomenal year for the city of Atlanta. Celebrate the national championship.
We had three huge games.
Yeah, they were the SEC championship, and then the Peach Bowl, which was last weekend, and now the upcoming national championship.
Yeah. It's good for Atlanta.
Great.
So
for
that's
Atlanta.
exciting for Atlanta. We like that.
Yeah.
All right. One of the other parts we do is always looking at like what are the trends and how do I identify trends? And we're normally just trying to pick like what words do we just keep hearing. So from 2024, it's like words that were what were the hottest words that we're hearing in real estate.
I think there was one hottest word, and then everything else was like tertiary compared to it. It was just pickleball. Everyone was just like foaming at the mouth to play pickleball, talk about pickleball, build pickleball. I felt like I heard about like a pickleball startup every week.
My goal is to not play pickleball in 2025. That's my goal, to not play pickleball.
My ACL does not want to play pickleball.
Okay.
Well, I'm just wondering how many pickleball places will open, or how many times will we hear about a pickleball deal?
Yeah.
That was huge in 2024. I think it started off kind of low, but like man, it just ramped up on people wanting to open pickleball places.
You should have made a pickleball coin.
A meme
Missed
coin
out
of
on that
pickleball.
Let's just figure out how to monetize it, and then we don't have to play. We could just make
meme
money
coin
off of it.
or the pickleball?
Monetize pickleball. We could put it inside of one of our vacant spaces, vacant warehouse spaces. Charge a lot of money for
That's
it.
like what everyone wants to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Other hottest words of 2024 was data centers. Those were definitely like, I don't know how anyone realistically expects to do one at the scale and the cost. You're looking at, I read about a new data center in Atlanta that's $17 billion. I don't know about most people. That's kind of outside of the deals that we're normally putting together are not in the $17 billion range, but a huge amount of interest in data centers. It's kind of like everyone wants to find land, or it's the first question they're always asking is data centers.
Yeah, not to go down this little path here, but my kid said every time you do an AI query, we burn down a forest.
Sounds like a mass exaggeration.
You think so?
Yeah.
It's not true.
Yeah. There's someone
an
just
entire
burning
forest.
Every time you make that AI query, you lose like an entire forest of trees.
Oh, there'd be too many forests left after the next
All right,
hour.
next hottest word, debt funds. That was definitely something that came out. It was a little bit of this rescue capital they were talking about for on the apartment side, but just the idea of a debt fund was very popular in 2024. Another one, I guess this probably started in the summer, was just hearing people say that they were waiting.
Yeah, with the election this past fall, with interest rates kind of, I mean, I guess technically, yeah, last year they came down, right, in 2024, but everyone kind of felt like they were still going up.
It's like,
Yeah.
well, everyone's waiting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of waiting going on in 2024.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it was coming from, banks were so hesitant to lend, so then therefore, how do you get the deal done without a lender? So there's just a lot of indecision, leading to a lot of market lack of movement.
Yeah. Other one in there is just my kids said Riz nonstop. I think that was like every conversation. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? So
I don't know how we missed this one. I think Ozempic was actually right there with pickleball, by the way.
Was pretty.
It's pretty up there.
Yeah, so we forgot that one. That should have been prioritized a little bit more.
Maybe that should be number one. I don't know.
All right.
The GLP-1 whole idea was dominant. But
Want to talk about fun for 2025?
yeah. So other part we talk about, we look at our year-end planning, and we're thinking as partners in the business, what are we going to do? What's fun? What kind of goals do we have? At Greenleaf, we're always talking about what goals are people setting. We have a whole goal day at the end of every quarter that's recapping what people have been able to accomplish. So just a few fun ones.
And around Goal Day, we have 3 speakers coming to our January Goal Day that have all set incredibly tremendous goals and accomplished them, and are now on their second, third, and fourth phase of them. I'm really excited about the speakers we have lined up, and our facilitator MJ, who's we worked with in the past. It should be a great Goal Day.
Yeah, we just did a whole year planning, goal setting session with MJ about 2 months ago, right? Middle of November. And that was our 10th year we've done that with her.
Yes.
Yeah. So pretty good stuff. But yeah, Goal Day is January 30th. And our whole company and investors and vendors are all getting together to kind of really set goals one quarter at a time.
Yeah. So here's the solicitation. If you'd like to come, just let us know. Reach out to us. We'd love to have you come attend our Goal Day with us.
All right. Fun goals from 2024. So Andrew, I guess your goal was really just to do, isn't your goal to do all of the
something called the Abbott
World
Marathons?
Championships?
Yeah, the Abbott Marathon. So it's a Boston Marathon, Chicago Marathon, New York Marathon, and then also the Berlin Marathon, Tokyo Marathon, and London Marathon.
So what did you do this year?
So over the past 2 years, I've done Berlin, London, and Tokyo.
Tokyo.
And so before that, I've done New York and Chicago. So I'm missing Boston. So I'm going to spend basically thousands of dollars getting a $10 medal for running 6 races.
I like that Abbott's just going to keep adding marathons to it, so you're never quite there.
Abbott just added it. And so I have one left, and you have to run the Boston Marathon. I thought about running the Boston Marathon in April. Looks like it's not going to happen. But we'll see what else happens for 2025. I'm coming off a sprained ankle from this past weekend too, so we'll see how that works out.
Yeah, you're trying to get new body parts this past weekend.
Yeah, maybe I'll get a cadaver ankle or something.
You don't want it.
All right.
Well, we run the London Marathon together, so that was fun.
And of course, you ran 8 miles and trained for 3 weeks. And
trained a lot.
And then you finished before me, and I trained for like months, and ran hundreds of miles. And you went to the
It was the fanny pack.
He went to the marathon. You went to the marathon with your kid's fanny pack and a bag of
ready
and
to
a
go.
bag of Fritos. And then of course I went with like every single piece of technology and running goo there was, and you still beat me by 10 minutes.
People that just eat Fritos all day long. It's like, I just took Fritos and Ozempic. I was like, I'll get there.
And a Diet Coke. So Fritos, Ozempic, and a Diet Coke, and you finished the London Marathon. Good job, Dave.
It's good.
Yeah.
Another fun goal. Josh, you and I, we hiked Katahdin this summer, highest point in Maine. We did it with our kids. It's probably one of the best quotes we heard of the whole year. It's hiking up this mountain, and we're with our kids. And we meet this guy who's hiking with his girlfriend along the way. And we actually passed them. At one point, they were stopped and eating or whatever. And then about an hour later, this guy comes walking up, and there's no girlfriend anymore. We're sitting there with our kids. We're like, hey, where's the girlfriend? I told my daughter, I was like, he's gonna leave her. He's gonna go for it. He's not giving up on this. And he just walks by, and he's like, sometimes the mountain demands sacrifices. I was like, that is a newly single man hiking up the mountain now. It was pretty great.
It was best.
So that was I
think it taught our kids a lot. Like that line.
My daughter still mentions it all the time.
Exactly.
It's like, my daughter's quote of the year was, the mountain demands sacrifices. She's 11. She's like, this is epic.
Yep.
But that was her 27th high point. So something fun that we're doing out there. Josh, we went to All In Summit.
Yeah, we went to All In Summit together. The lineup of speakers and the content and really the quality of the people that attended it. It had a decent political slant because it was obviously during an election year, but the business heavy, learning about Waymo's strategy, learning about the strategy around flying cars, these things that are out there over the next, call it 10 years. Waymo, comes in Atlanta.
Yeah, Waymo's coming to Atlanta now.
Yeah. So
January 2025.
Just kind of being ahead of the trends. I mean, in the speakers and, the amount of business and world leaders they had in that room was incredible.
Yeah.
So
that was very cool.
Yeah, it was an awesome experience.
Fun goal. Andrew, was being an empty nester a goal?
Being an empty nester was a goal.
I guess it's a goal. Right?
And by the way, I talked about this at lunch today, but I do highly recommend empty nesting. It's amazing. It's truly amazing. So I highly recommend it to anybody who's considering it. And then, of course, I had a good running year too. I ran almost 1,300 miles this year too. And
jeez,
so whatever that's worth. And
you could have run to Maine.
I could have run to Maine.
Yeah.
You should do one of those like Ram Run Across America or
like Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Or like Jesse Itzler.
He rode his bike across.
Yeah. Still.
Yeah.
You can run it though.
Really far.
Yeah. It is far. Either one counts. Heck, driving across counts.
Yes.
The cannonball run across the
all a
U.S. is
grind.
pretty interesting too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 1,300 miles. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
How about you, Josh? You got one?
So I've been taking my boys to all the MLB baseball parks. So we hit numbers 8 and 9 this year. We usually hit 1, maybe 2 a year. It's kind of a big trip now that because there's only 1 per city.
Yes.
This year we hit Pittsburgh and Cleveland on the same weekend. I do it with my brother and his kid.
What about New York and L.A.? They got 2.
So I've been putting off the big cities until I get a little bit older, so we can kind of enjoy the nightlife and all the other activities as well. So we've been doing the more rural, I really want to go to Minnesota next, do Seattle, but kind of putting
Did
off.
you just call Seattle rural?
More rural than New York. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but we've done Cincinnati and even Phoenix. It's just a lot easier to do than a New York.
Yeah, that's true.
Without my kids, these are the ones kind of with my kids. Without my kids, I did go to the World Series with my brothers to see the Yankees play. So, not the best performance. I'm not having the best track record of attending games from my team in person.
Oh yeah, yes, Yankees and Texas this year, man.
Yeah,
You've just seen a lot of losing.
yeah. I mean, we've been Michigan at the beginning of the year. I was there, but not the rest. So, anyways,
All right. Predictions for 2025. Kind of, we wrap up our year in planning. We're always like, okay, what is going to happen in 2025? What do we need to be thinking about? So we kind of just think about just individual words that we're like, okay, this is what we see happening in 2025. What do you think, Josh?
I think the data center trend is going to keep going strong. Going into 2024 election into this year, the previous Trump era tax cuts were a big topic. And I think they're becoming less of a topic now that kind of the Republicans control, but basically all the voting categories. But I think it will be interesting to see what happens with those tax cuts renewal and whether something will change. And also, to see the impact of Doge, whole new government department.
Doge
is going to be a big one. So
wonder if it's an
tax cuts, Doge, and data centers is what I'm going with.
Tax cuts, Doge. All right. How about you, Andrew?
Well, I think there's going to be a lot of movement in retail on owner-occupied assets or second-gen space, to tell you the truth. But there's the rising costs of construction are going to change the market. And when an owner actually, even like Greenleaf, when an owner moves in its own property, it's always going to be the best economical decision for the owner, because first of all, they're going to be able to get the cheapest rent possible. They're going to have an asset that appreciates in theory, and they're also going to be able to create rent through the other tenants that they have in their portfolio. Like I just talked to, there was a strip mall that came up for sale just down the street from Greenleaf, which was about a 5 or 6 tenant strip mall, and it sold at a crazy low cap rate, so high price. And the reason it was able to do that is because an owner user was moving into one of the retail spaces. And so he moved into his retail space, and then he rented out 3 or 4 more spaces to other tenants. And he's got a cheap space for himself, and he's making revenue from the other parts of the strip mall too, probably essentially making his cost of his space very, very low. So I think we're going to see more of that. And with the rising costs of construction, I don't think we're going to see a lot of restaurants being built or a lot of properties being built. I think there's enough second-gen space out there that I think restaurants and tenants and
They can just
retail,
absorb that.
they're just going to, I mean, it costs a lot less to come into an existing space, renovate it, make it look the way you want, and use that rather than build new space, because there's just no price comparison. Just like the hub. The hub, you'll never be in a cost basis for that, or rebuilding that property. You couldn't even do it today.
All right, so owner occupied and second gen.
Yes.
Cool. My thinking about 2 different things for 2025. I'm going to throw out the idea of rent contraction on the residential space. I think some kind of stars are aligning for that to actually happen. It was flat to slightly negative in the 3rd and 4th quarter, so I think that trend continues for 2025. And another one is the EV tolls. I think it's going to be very interesting what can happen with those, especially with Delta's a big investor in one of those, and us being here in Atlanta.
This is flying cars.
EV tolls, electric vertical takeoff cars, vehicles.
Yeah.
Yes. But how those are integrated and the potential that they could have to reshape where you're living and your quality of life, I think is enormous. So I think there's going to be a lot more talk and discussion on those.
And those are going, so they had a speaker panel at the All In Summit. They had 3 of the EV tolls speak about
I think
it.
3 of them is all of them.
Right, but they're all launching right now in 2025, I believe, in Dubai. Right, so
well, 1 here, 1 in Atlanta.
Okay,
and then 2 in Dubai.
Right, so it's going to be interesting because it's happening right now.
Yeah, so there's not like FAA approval of them yet. Like I think that's happening early 25. If we'll possibly see the first like approvals of that stuff, which would be pretty neat.
Yeah.
I think that's been a concept since like the 60s, or who even knows when people are like, oh, we should have a flying car.
Yeah,
it's about to get. They're not truly flying cars, but yeah. Okay. Predictions. Cool. Now, other part we go into is just like visions for 2025 and what do we want to be doing? What do we want to see happening? And we're really just looking for what opportunities are out there. So, Andrew, you mentioned second-gen space.
Well, second-gen space, I mean, there's so much second-gen space coming online right now. We have all of these retailers who are going dark right now. Party City just filed bankruptcy. Big Lots just filed bankruptcy, so we're going to have about 700 Party City big box stores, about 400 Big Lots empty with some other use other than pickleball, I hope, but maybe pickleball.
That's just like maybe we'll have 1,100 new pickleball facilities.
There'll be a new pickleball brand called Big Lots Pickleball. And then, of course, CVS and Walgreens continue to downsize, and there's 1,000 dark locations for that. Macy's is reducing its count by 65 units, and a Macy's is a gigantic space. And so repurposing a Macy's, that's a big deal.
It's like 3 pickleball facilities.
It is. It's depending on, it could be 4, depending on the number of floors. In fact, one of the floors, the Macy's at Perimeter Mall, I think, is actually empty. They've actually emptied one of the floors at Macy's at Perimeter.
Took the whole floor, yeah.
The whole floor is just empty. And then, of course, Advanced Auto continues to decline too. And so they have 700. Those are small, 10,000 square foot spaces, not big box, but size of a Dollar General.
It's like there's so much opportunity to convert those spaces into something.
So
it's like it's so much space that's open.
If someone figures out what to do with the dark Walgreens and can make money doing it, it's going to be amazing. And I know Dollar Tree and Family Dollar move into some of them. I have not seen a Dollar General move into one of them, but I have seen Dollar Tree and Family Dollar move into them. So
yeah, like there's individual uses that can be applied to them. I don't know if there's a way to go buy 200, 300, 400 of them for one of these like massive national type chains to repurpose that stuff, unless we were talking a little bit about the pop-up retail options. It's like they're all going to be Halloween stores in October. We have a lot of Halloween
stores.
There
are going to be a lot of Halloween stores.
So there's that. All right. Next part I would say is vision is really, we're working on this CRM platform with AI. It's going to be impactful about how much it can just reduce spend on that stuff. In our world, we were started with Salesforce and like it just wasn't doing it for us. So now we're just working on building our own. It's kind of like our own agent and our own way of using our own data. So we're excited to see where that goes. How about you, Josh?
I think we're still going to have a plenty of opportunity to do these debt placements in unique ways. The Epitome Group, Dharma and his team have just a phenomenal pipeline in such great locations around Austin and San Antonio that I think we'll continue to look at. I think, as those phase into the next phase of construction, we'll also look at doing more with that and maybe even go vertical with him because we'll get to know the project so well. So I think we're building a little bit of a pipeline with him. And I think we'll also look for, other unique lending opportunities with other businesses, especially around the real estate sector.
Cool. Andrew, what about real estate trends on the retail side?
Well, we're always hoping to see more deals because of interest rates. That not necessarily happened, but we will see. I think what we're transitioning right now in retail of where are the opportunities going to be, and they're not going to be the opportunities in 2025 are not going to look like the opportunities in 2022 and 2023. They're going to be different, and so we're creating those opportunities, looking at some repositioning some strip centers. We just talked about all of these big box stores or these empty retail locations. There is something to do with them. Now the question is what, and can we transition into doing something like that and figuring out what to do with an empty AutoZone or an empty Advanced Auto Parts store?
Some of the biggest demand we saw from tenants in 2024 was around sports training and physical fitness and awareness kind of stuff. We put a lot of gyms in place, and we put a lot of like one-on-one specialty training centers in, and they took everything from 3,500 square feet to 12,000 square feet. So I don't know if the problem with that much second generation space is like, there's not. I don't think there's one answer for any of it.
Right. And so the question is are there 5 things that can go in the space, or there are 100 things that go in the space? And is someone going to take, 200 of those locations and do one thing with it? That's the hope. But whether that will happen or not, we don't know. So
cool. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out, though. Okay. Well, to wrap things up, kind of look at 2025, and we say, what do you guys think of the most interesting goal for the year? We say, like, what's your one thing that's like, this is probably the coolest thing you're going to do for the year? We both listened to Jesse Itzler, Jesse Itzler, and his kind of discussion on this whole Muskogee goal. Like, what's your one big impactful goal that you're going to have for the year? And you think through it. It's a good way of thinking about it, setting one thing for the year. But what do you think?
I always look at how to build and strengthen relationships that will really lead our company, lead myself into really new categories and new arenas. And so I'm just looking at, doing more of that, making new friends, and seeing what other people are doing and networking. So going to more conferences, being in, getting in front of more people and being a better listener.
Is that your one goal? What's the actual one event?
One goal is
big goal?
probably just putting myself out there more.
Yeah.
Yeah. In summary. Yeah.
Cool. I'll go. I got it. I love road trips. Always done road trips. I've done road trips from when I was a little kid. Some of my best memories. And this summer we're doing a road trip to North Dakota, and this is probably the 6th year that done a very long road trip with lots of kids. Josh's mom has come on a bunch of them.
She
right?
helps out a lot.
Now she's on them. But last summer we had 3 other families that also tagged along. It was pretty fun. So at one point we just had a bunch of kids running around in Maine. We did a road trip to Maine. So this summer we're planning a trip to drive to North Dakota. It's like, I don't know, 4,000 miles is kind of the total drive. Go drive to the highest point in North Dakota and back, and hopefully get a bunch of our friends and their kids to tag along as well. So that's probably like my big vision, big goal for the year on the personal side is doing that. What do you think on your side, Andrew?
On my side, I think it's just a matter of a couple things. Number one, setting an example for my kid to make sure that he grows up in a world where people know they can make an impact and do shit, make things a little bit better, and creating memories. I mean, 3 of us have created a lot of memories together, a lot of fun things. We're going to always learn in the London Marathon. Never going to forget that.
That was pretty awesome.
So I want to create more of those memories, and I want to do some fun shit, and just kind of let people know that there is hope in the world. How's that?
I like it. Cool. Okay. All right. Well, that's kind of our wrap up of 2024 and our vision of what 2025 looks like. We're always out there looking for opportunities where we can tackle hard stuff in real estate, really dig through problems and create some value. That's what we're focused on, but we want to have a good time along the way too. Life's too short not to have fun doing it, so you better enjoy it. So we got a lot of problems. We got a lot of problems we go try and find that are exciting to tackle. So,
all right, Josh, let's do the thing where you do
the newscaster out.
Yeah.
If we get Ron Burgundy on here to do it, yeah. Anyways, thanks for watching, everyone.
Thanks.